Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Crafty Quinn. My name is Megan, and today I have for you part 2 of my Dollar Tree 2022 calendar craft series. Today it's the spring edition. I'm so excited to share these with you. Let's get started. So first, we're going to start off using this calendar, the Thankful, Grateful, and Blessed 2022 12-month calendar. I call it the Mason jar calendar. And so it has a lot of great little pictures like this, one being a mason jar just like this. And we are using one of Dollar Tree's new little barn houses with their Valentine's Day decor. That's where I found this. I grabbed about maybe 2 of them, just not for anything Valentine's Day related. I just thought they would be coming in handy later on, and man, was I right. So you'll notice that I did trace this the opposite way that I needed to trace this because I am going to be using the back of this. And that's because at first I was maybe going to use the front of the sign, and then I decided not to, so I had to just kind of roll with it. So you can tell there, you can see the line that I traced, but that's okay. We're going to keep going with the punches here. So we have the matte Mod Podge that I'm using here. This is actually Dollar Tree's matte Mod Podge, and I like it, but it dries very, very quick. So I'm just using a tiny brush here, and I was kind of trying to do it in a way like I'm gonna Mod Podge half of this and then Mod Podge the other half of this and dry it. So heat is definitely your friend when you're Mod Podging, and that's what I've learned. And I did use a roller for this, but I don't know if it's just the material that I was working with or what, but I couldn't get it quite as smooth as I normally do, and that was just kind of the luck I was having with this calendar. But heat is definitely your friend. I just kind of kept going back over it and trying to clear up any creases that I could. But normally when I lay down the paper right away on top of the Mod Podge, I use a roller. But I think the problem was that I was just not using enough Mod Podge. Everything was just kind of soaking it in and absorbing it. And I've learned that maybe the more Mod Podge you use, it turns out a little bit better. And honestly, because you'll see later on in the video, when I didn't use as much Mod Podge, it dried super, super quick, and then that's no good for anybody. So after I had everything Mod Podged on, we're going to do a layer of Mod Podge on top of it. And that is to get rid of the shininess of the calendar. I don't like that, so that's great. Ever since you guys told me about that trick, some of my subscribers told me about this trick, and I have just started doing this on all of my calendar crafts. So thank you guys so much for telling me about that, because that was a handy little trick. So there was a little bit of calendar that kind of came through on the other side because it didn't quite, fit totally when you're trying to trace it. So to get rid of the excess, I just take my finger sander and I just go along the edges, and then that just kind of takes it off really easily. So next we're going to take some tiny little Dollar Tree popsicle sticks. These are very, very thin, and they're easy to cut with just regular sturdy scissors. And I say sturdy meaning sharp scissors. So as long as you have a sharp pair of scissors, you shouldn't have any trouble cutting these popsicle sticks. They're really just kind of like on the flimsier side. So I'm just trying to align it to the different angles of the barn. And what's great about the sign is it has so many easy to cut angles, and it just kind of makes cutting these popsicle sticks so much easier. But what I would do is just line it up with the shape of the barn and then trace a line over it and then just cut that line and just kind of cut it more and more, a little by little, just depending on how you need it for the shape of the barn. And then for the little tiny smokestack, I decided to use a jumbo popsicle stick because it was twice the size of those regular tiny little popsicle sticks, and it fit the little smokestack, whatever you call it. I can't think. Chimney. There we go. Chimney. It fit the chimney size quite well. So I did actually, you'll notice that I did paint the tiny little popsicle sticks white. I used white Waverly chalk paint for this, and I thought it was a nice contrast with the blue and the white. So I did cut about 4, so I had 4 little popsicle sticks to create my entire roof section up there, and all you need is hot glue to secure them, but I just glued them right on top of each other according to the angle of the barn roof. And then I used my finger sander if they weren't smooth enough. But like I said, all you need to do is hot glue these after you have them where you want them and the angle is just right. So once I had everything secured, I did have a little bit of trouble with the piece all the way on the left. You'll see I noticed right there I kind of messed it up when I didn't have it quite at the angle that I wanted it. I pulled it up and it pulled some of the calendar with it, so that was my mistake. But I decided that, you know what, there's going to be a way to cover this up. It's all going to be okay, and I'll show you guys what I did to cover that up. But in the meantime, I'm just taking some Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to just stress the entire roof. I'm going to make it more like an authentic barn and just stress all of the pieces. So I take off some of the excess Waverly wax on my paper towel. I draw an X shape, and that's kind of the trick that I do. And normally if I have a lot of wax on my brush, I draw an X on a paper towel 3 times, and that helps take off the right amount of excess from my brush. Sometimes you don't need to do that all 3 times. Sometimes, you know, I maybe kind of start off not putting a ton on there to begin with, but I'm just saying it's a great trick for if you have a ton of wax on your brush. So once you have everything to your liking, we're going to cover up that mess up spot with some Paper Studio flowers that I got from Hobby Lobby. So I love those, and I look for any excuse to use them, really. So this is the end result, and I am very happy with the way it came out, even with all the mess ups that I had. So this is just a really quick reminder. Please make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Please hit the bell button for notifications. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment if you like any of the DIYs, and that really helps our channel grow. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at the Crafty Quinn. So coming up next here, we have one of these brand new little wooden organizers that Dollar Tree has. I mean, they're adorable. I think they're great. They look great for storage anyway. I'm not using it for that purpose, as you'll see. But I've been thinking about what to make with this, and then once I figured out I was gonna do a calendar video, I was like, oh man, this is I gotta put these little tiny calendar squares into this organizer. So we're using the Fresh Flowers calendar with the blue truck on it, the one all the way in the corner that you see there. That is the calendar that we're using for this. We're using all 2022 Dollar Tree calendars, and they had some great ones this year, but I really think that this calendar is probably my favorite. So we're using a lot of pictures from here, and you'll see that later on in the video as well, but this is mostly the calendar that we're going to be using today. So we're going to drill some holes into the top of this organizer, and here I'm just measuring how far into the organizer I want the hole for the string to go. And so I'm just using my ruler here, and I think what I ultimately decided was I wanted it to go about 1.5 inches in. So I'm just using a black Sharpie to mark it, and then we're going to take our drill and drill the holes. This thing had me so scared that I was gonna like accidentally drill my hand or something, because it's just, you know, it's flimsy, but the pieces around it are pretty sturdy. So I was like, that it really surprised me because it took forever to drill through, and I was using it at like full speed, but I was trying to be really cautious, and then it still surprised me either way. So that looks perfect. Oh, I think I had the clip in here backwards, but yes, I did this to both. So after that was done, then I decided to paint, and so we're gonna go with white Waverly chalk paint again for this craft as well. So this organizer took forever to paint because, I mean, you really don't think about it, but when you actually go to paint it, it takes a long time because you got to paint every single side of each corner here. So I want to say it took me maybe a half hour to paint this. I'm not sure, but it felt like a really long time. So we're going to take some scrapbook paper next, and this is going to go, I'm going to cut out 4 little pieces, and they're going to go in each square. So this scrapbook paper I got from Hobby Lobby. I really love it. It's a pink light pink buffalo check color. Can't wait to show it to you guys. So it definitely helped to cut this out first in the shape of the box, and then from there I could just use my paper cutter and just cut it easily. And I love this thing. I'm gonna link this for you guys actually, because this thing has really come in handy for most of these crafts actually. So I want to share with you guys which one I got. I got mine off of Amazon, so I do have a link for you guys there. So I'm kind of trying to eyeball it, but what's great about using this plaid or buffalo check paper is, you know, it does have some great lines on it already that you can already use to help measure things a little bit better, where you want to cut them and everything. So that was definitely a huge help. So I'm really glad I was working with this paper for this project. So it is a little bit, it's a little bit of eyeballing and just kind of like, okay, will this work? You know, and then just keep cutting it down to size with your paper cutter. So we are using Mod Podge for the scrapbook pieces as well. Make sure you have it covered, make sure you have it in every corner. That is that same matte Mod Podge that I've been using for all of my crafts in this video so far. And I'm going to continue to use this. I'm pretty sure I had to Mod Podge every single one of these crafts. Well, maybe, but yeah. So you're gonna start laying in your calendar pieces, and they're gonna go in the very middle of each square in all 4 squares. So don't get discouraged when you see the paper pieces start to kind of come up like that. Like I said, heat is your friend. So just, you know, use your hairdryer, use your heat gun. If you can use your heat gun, but I honestly prefer using my hairdryer for something like this because it wasn't getting too hot and I could still press it down while using the hairdryer at the same time, and then just go in there and just keep pressing it down. So it worked out quite well. So I just repeated that step for all 4 squares. So we are actually going to Mod Podge over top of all 4 squares here, just because I don't like the shininess. So that really comes in handy for that. So we are going to distress this project as well. I do this for a lot of my projects, but I really just prefer it. I don't know if it's the farmhouse look really that I prefer, but whenever I see something just kind of plain, I'm like, oh, this needs more. This needs something else. This needs more. So we're using that antique Waverly wax again, and just getting the excess off your brush and then just going around the whole drawer. And then wiping any excess off with a paper towel. So once that was all done, then it's time to add in our beaded hanger. And these are actually those Dollar Tree wooden beads that my friend Jessica on Instagram gave me. I'm gonna have to link her Instagram profile below, but she sent them to me and I just really appreciate it. It was so nice of her. These beads were actually all out with their fall decor, so these did not last long. I don't know if you guys got them at your Dollar Tree, but I was shocked that Dollar Tree came out with something like this. So then you're just gonna tie a knot once you have the garland where you want it. And then as a final touch, I did go in and add more Paper Studio flowers to the corners of this craft. So we are going to use this flower calendar. I think it's called, yeah, Enjoy the Little Things. So this is another one of their 2022 calendars that I love. I love this one just because it has so many just amazing floral patterns in it. So they have amazing ones for fall. They have just gorgeous ones. So the little sign that I'm going to be using this is one of their brand new signs that just came out. You'll notice that it does have blue flowers on it now, and it doesn't really match with the tiny little calendar piece that I'm working with. So I did go over those blue flowers that you see on the top of this piece. I painted over them with a tiny little paintbrush with some white paint. As you can tell, yeah, it was just a lot of footage of me painting a tiny little thing that was hard to see, so I skipped that part. So I just painted the rest of the inside of the box white. I painted over those blue flowers because I felt like it was clashing too much with the photo from the calendar that I chose. But this is just a really quick, simple DIY. Dollar Tree has a ton of these little boxes out right now, and at my Dollar Tree anyway. That's what I've seen them from. And they have also farmhouse ones as well. And so you could take any of the farmhouse calendar pieces and put them in the middle of this as well, if you find those other farmhouse looking decor pieces. So I really, really recommend that you put a lot of Mod Podge on this, first of all, as I've learned, because otherwise it'll dry way too quick. So definitely great to make sure you have a thick, even layer of it on here. And since this is a piece on the smaller side, you don't really have to worry about too many air bubbles or wrinkles or anything like that. This just went down pretty smooth, actually. So once you have it positioned where you want it, then you're gonna go in and use your hairdryer and then make sure to heat activate it so it sticks. And it doesn't take too long after you dry it for it to start sticking. And then this is the end result. So I personally put this together because I liked the way the greens looked against each other. So next we're gonna keep using this Farm Fresh calendar here. This is that Fresh Flowers one with all of the trucks on it. I love this calendar so much. So it has a lot of great images, and we are actually going to make an Easter sign. I had this blank wood Easter egg cutout from last year. I never got to use it, so it came in handy. And we're actually going to use this gorgeous photo from the calendar of the bunny just laying in a field. Oh my gosh, I mean, it's just so gorgeous, and I've been looking for a way to use this photo in particular for a while. So when I saw this cutout, I'm like, I mean, maybe it could work. And then what do you know, it was almost a perfect fit. I just did some, you know, tracing of the wood cutout against the calendar piece, and then it worked out great. So I got this into position by going really from the top down. So once you have the top piece where you want it, then it makes it easier to align the rest of the calendar onto the wood piece. So I covered this again with Mod Podge. I tried to use a lot of it, but I mean, this calendar picture just really absorbed it all, and it probably also doesn't help that I was using a foam brush to do this, because those foam brushes just really absorb all of the Mod Podge, and then you end up putting like a much thinner layer on things, but that's besides the point. So once everything is laid down to the way you want it, like I said, I tried to use the roller, but you know, there's only so much you can do if you don't have enough Mod Podge on it, because it's already starting to dry. It dried very, very quick. And even though it looked like it was like soaked with the Mod Podge, when I went to lay it down, it was basically almost dry. So I just kept at it. I just kept adding more Mod Podge, and then I just kept using my hairdryer, and then just kept using my fingers to smooth it. So eventually that did work, and I was really concerned because at first because it looked like it was going to have a ton of air bubbles and wrinkles and crinkles, and then after I just let it sit for a while, I noticed that they all just deflated. So the heat definitely worked. It definitely started working. The air bubbles started going away. So I just left it alone, and it kind of just cured, I guess. So instead of using so much heat up front and just trying to, you know, cut it down with my fingers and all of the air bubbles and things like that, I just left it alone instead, and then it seemed to work out better that way. So I had a little too much excess calendar on this wood cutout, so I'm just using my finger sander now to get rid of that. So it's a perfect fit. And I'm going to coat this completely in Mod Podge because I don't like the shiny look. Again, this gives it a nice matte finish. I really like that, and it helps it to photograph better. So once that was completely coated in Mod Podge, I decided to lay down some of these brand new Dollar Tree flowers, and I thought it would look so cute. I was trying to find flowers that really matched the ones in this photograph, and I felt like these were really the best, and just the greens really seemed to match. And then I tied 2 pieces of burlap together using twine, and I made a cute little bow. I just really felt like it needed something in the middle of the greenery. This is how it looks when it's all done, and I'm obsessed with this one. This is probably my favorite project from today, besides the truck at the end of this video. So we are going back in time. As you can tell, this was before we refurbished the table that I craft on, and you may have noticed in any of my recent videos that this table is normally white. Well, this is what it used to look like before we refinished it with chalk paint. Oh, and this was back when Marcus was still very much interested in my crafts. Now he just prefers sleeping while I'm crafting. So we are taking 3 of these tiny little clay pots from Dollar Tree. I mean, when I say tiny, they are very, very tiny. They don't look like it, but they are. They're super, super small. If you were to actually see them in person, I don't know if you guys have seen these at your Dollar Tree, but they are so, so small. So we just coat them completely in that white Waverly chalk paint that I just love to use. And then I took some Waverly ink, black chalk paint. I think it's chalk paint. Yeah, I think it is. I thought it was acrylic, but I think it is chalk paint. And I'm just taking a tiny little brush. And what I did here was I just drew on the number 5 cents. So I kind of made it look like these were maybe from a farm, and we are going to fill these up with those tiny Dollar Tree carrots that they had last year. I noticed this year they have much, much larger carrots, like 5 times the size of these. So they're really going to be fun to work with, so I'm looking forward to that. And then after that was done, I did take some Waverly Antique Wax and I distressed these pots. And really my goal here was I was trying to make them look muddy. Like they just came from the farm, they're muddy, they're dirty. That was really the look that I was going for here, so that's why I used a lot of wax, way more than you ever normally see me use, and I think it definitely gave me the look that I was going for. So I did that to all 3, and I got wax all over my hands, but it was a lot of fun. And I'm actually going to link the original video that this came from. This was from my neutral Dollar Tree DIYs video, neutral Easter Dollar Tree DIYs video from last year, but I'm going to make sure to link that here for you guys. I had a lot of other fun DIYs in that video that I'm super, super proud of, so definitely check it out. So I just kind of faded them a little bit with the paper towel just to really give it that muddy look. And then I'm just taking these carrots, and each one can fit 2 carrots in it, and then I filled them up with that Dollar Tree moss you see in the background there. I mean, this was probably one of my favorite DIYs from last year, definitely. That and probably the hydro-dipped Easter eggs that I did. That looked super modern and neutral. And that's in a separate video, and maybe I'll link that one for you guys as well. So you can just fill these up as far as you want with moss. So the reason that I'm showing you guys this craft from last year is because I'm actually going to give this, well, I'm going to update these. Let's just put it that way. So I thought of an idea of how to use those tiny little Easter calendar pieces from the 2022 Dollar Tree calendars, and we're going to incorporate them into this craft. So that's really all I did for this. I just filled them all up. And the moss just gets everywhere. And that's really all you need to do for all 3. So simple. Okay, jumping ahead to 2022 now. I still have the pots. They're still exactly the way they were before. And I did have a 6 carat, but my cat Marcus stole it, and that's why you don't see it here. he stole it and I eventually just like let him have it, but it's fine. So we're gonna use that same calendar that I've been using, the one with all of the trucks, the fresh flowers one, and I'm going to use the miniature Easter Bunny picture for this. And we are Mod Podging this, of course. And then once it's covered in Mod Podge, we are going to stick this on the opposite side of the 5 cents. So I had enough of these to do this to 2 of the pots. I didn't bother doing it to the 3rd because I only had 2 Easter related photos. So don't get discouraged. So this first Easter photo is actually from the 2021 calendar. So I stole this little Easter bunny picture from there, but then I did use the other 2022 Easter bunny picture as well. So I had 2 that I could work with and I could put them on 2 pots. I didn't have a 3rd, so it's fine. And these came out so great. I love it. Moving on to the next DIY, we are doing the Enjoy the Little Things 2022 calendar for this one. I'm so excited to do a canvas craft. I know a lot of people have been doing canvas crafts lately, and I can't remember who it was, but I saw in someone's video that they took a Dollar Tree canvas and they kind of flipped it and made the backing, I guess the wooden backing, into a frame instead, so you turn it into a framed photo. So that's what we're going to be doing. And if anyone has seen another crafter do this, please let me know in the comments below. I want to make sure to give credit where credit's due. That's really important to me. I just cannot remember who I saw doing this, because if I did, I would definitely link them down below. So if you guys remember seeing anyone do this in a recent video, let me know and I'll link their channel in my description box. So once you get the canvas off of the wooden frame, we are cutting off all of the pieces that were just damaged there because they were in the staples. That was definitely a challenge, you guys. And by the way, I'm using a 8x10 wooden frame canvas for this. So this is not one of those tiny canvas photo frames. This is an 8x10. So this is more on the larger side, larger, medium side. So we're using one of those calendar images. And what I did was I just kind of tried to lay it on top and see the words come through and just try and figure out where exactly I wanted this to go in the photo. So I'm just kind of testing it out, just kind of stacking it, but really this is what it's gonna look like. Well, the calendar image is gonna be on top of the canvas, but you know what I mean. I really liked this one, and I thought, you know, these kind of almost look like lemons. I'm not sure if that's what they're going for or not, but anyway, I used my paper cutter to cut it down to size until it worked perfectly with the canvas. And then I did just kind of mark it right there just so I could get a better sense of where to slice off the excess paper. Like I said, this came in handy, you guys, for today's video. Oh my gosh, I think I used this for almost every calendar piece that I used for all of my crafts. So after it was cut down completely, we are going to, yes, Mod Podge. I'll be surprised if I have any left over after this video. So you are going to coat the entire thing and make sure you actually use a decent amount of it, as I'm learning. Otherwise it'll dry way too quick on you before you want this to be dry. So then I just lay it on top of the canvas, and we are going to adhere this to the canvas, and once it's laid down, you know, just kind of move it to where you need it to go. Smooth that out with your hands as best you can. Use the roller if you can. Yeah, I did use the roller for this because it definitely helped here. Definitely helped with all of the air bubbles and everything that was starting to form. And I do have this link down for you below in my description box as well. So I felt like I needed a little bit more in the corner there. And then once it's pressed down enough, that's when you can start with the heat activation. So I think I might just stick to using a hairdryer now for all of my crafts, because it really comes in handy because it doesn't get too hot and I can just press down on it immediately with my fingers. But I am using the high heat setting on this. I just want to make that clear because I feel like I didn't mention that. But I am using the highest setting. So we are actually going to stain this frame. I'm using some makeup wipes, just regular CeraVe makeup wipes for the staining of the frame. I mean, you could even use Dollar Tree makeup wipes. I bet would probably work great with this as well. So this is antique Waverly wax that I use. And since I use this all the time, so I get it actually from Walmart. My Walmart is actually still stocking all of the Waverly paint products, but I know that they are going to be gone soon, so yeah. So once this is completely stained to your liking, all you need to do next is just hot glue this down on top of the sign that you like. And drop it. Just kidding, you don't want to throw your frame. I decided to leave that in there because I thought it was just too hilarious. I don't know how I did it. I just like fumbled it in my hands, and then somehow it was still dry enough by the time I went to go place it down on top of the calendar. And that was just pure luck. But all you need to do as a last step is cut off the excess. Well, actually not a last step, but this is the second to last step. Cut off all the excess canvas and then Mod Podge it. So I'm Mod Podging it because I, again, don't like the shininess, and I like that it's sealed in. So I mean, I'm just doing it as best I can. I mean, I probably could have Mod Podged this before I put the frame on, so you can definitely do that if you want. But I guess I kind of thought of this more as an afterthought, but yeah. So once everything is coated completely in the Mod Podge, I did go back over it with my hairdryer. And then I left it alone for a while because it did have some air bubbles. So I left it alone, came back to it later, and it did, all of them seemed to deflate a bit more, so it definitely cured well. And it's the end result. And I actually think this is a great summer looking project, but I mean, I think it fits for spring. So I know you guys have seen this craft in my most recent video, but I'm like, this is a calendar video. Like, I really, really wanted to put this in here. I just feel like it fits, you know, with the category. But this is obviously Dollar Tree's new Valentine's Day truck that they have out with their Valentine's Day decor. Hopefully they still have these out, but I just wanted to put this in here because I am going to be using a tiny little calendar piece with it. So as you can see here, I first stained all of the pieces that I wanted to with the Waverly Antique Wax. I used a makeup wipe there to spread it around. And next we're gonna go in with that lacquer Waverly acrylic paint, and that is going to be the base color of the truck. I kind of had to use many different size brushes for this project, many different brushes, and definitely using some finer tipped ones as well to paint things such as the headlights on this truck. And the windows on this truck. I'm using white Waverly chalk paint for the windows. It was really, really hard to stay in the lines on these, let me tell you. So just do the best you can, or you don't even have to paint them. It's totally up to you. But personally, after you paint them and they look like this, I mean, how can you not? So just painting the little tiny door handle with one of the tiniest little brushes that I have. And I did go ahead and paint the wheels of the truck, and then the hearts, I'm going to use that pink color in the top left. So there was a line here actually in the wood cutout because they have all of these lines just kind of etched into the wooden truck. So I decided to trace along them and see how it would turn out. And I did use pretty much the tiniest brush that I own to be able to do this line. So I was just kind of going very, very slow. Just do the best you can. I did trace these outlines as well. These were probably the most time consuming. I mean, this truck project probably took me, definitely a couple hours at least, because the painting part is obviously the most tedious, but also when you're just trying to work so hard to fill in the lines, that's what takes longer. So once all of the lines are painting, the truck's really starting to come together now, and we're just gonna go ahead and fill in all the other things with this light pink. And I thought this light pink would also make a great background as I start to add on some foam flowers from Dollar Tree's new Valentine's Day decor. So as you can tell, I did use this tiny little calendar piece from the Fresh Flowers calendar, the one with all of the trucks on it from the 2022 calendar series. And that is going to go in the middle of the door, but first we're just adding on the finishing touch here with these foam flowers. And yes, this is Mod Podged. And this one gave me no trouble because the calendar piece is so tiny. So I just kind of cut it down to size as best I could to make it fit in the door panel. And then you just need to use your hairdryer for this one as well, and then just move it around, make sure you get it where you like it. Yeah, that's from this Farm Fresh calendar. And it came from there. So that came from February. And this is the end result, and guys, I'm still in love with this truck. Weeks later, I'm still in love with this truck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great night. If you want to check out more videos, watch them here on the left, and let's keep in touch on Instagram. Thanks guys, have a great night, and stay safe.